If you guys are about to go out and shop for Plantation shutters like you see behind me here, and you're a little unfamiliar with the product and some of the things that you should be looking for, then stick around because I'm going to give you a great checklist of all the most important considerations and options available to you with this product. And no matter where you're located or whatever manufacturer that you're looking at, you'll know what questions to ask and what things to be looking for. In this video, I am not endorsing any brand or any manufacturer. I'm strictly giving you all the information that you need so that you can go out and confidently find the right brand and the right partner to install this product for you. So shutters are often referred to as Plantation shutters, are a very versatile window treatment that fit with a lot of different home design styles and offer a lot of benefits to your house. Shutters are far superior to your traditional blinds at keeping out light and also heat. They do a really good job of adding additional insulation benefits to the inside of your house. They also insulate your house from sound. So if you want one more product in the house that can help to reduce some of that street noise from outside, then window shutters are a great option for that as well. One of the other benefits of shutters is the privacy that they provide and the degree of control that we have over how much light that we can let into the house without sacrificing that privacy, which we'll talk about in a little while. Now, shutters do look great inside the house and they work with a bunch of different design styles, as I mentioned, but they also look really good from the outside of the house. So when somebody's driving down the street and they look at windows that have shutters inside, it definitely spruces the front of the house up and gives you more curb appeal than your standard window treatment options. And proper, well-maintained, and good quality shutters will increase the value of your home much more so than your traditional blinds will. So there are some of the main benefits that window shutters offer you. Now we're gonna go ahead and start building our checklist of the things that you can be looking for when you go out shopping. But before we do that, I'm gonna give you a few of the basic measurements that you can take at your house of each of your windows so that when you do go shopping, they can help guide you as to what type of product that you might need, and they can give you a basic estimate on the product before they've even come out and done their final check measure for you. So to get the basic measurements for your windows, all we're gonna do is take our width and our height, and then we're also going to take the sill depth. So we're going to measure from the front of the wall to the back where the glass frame is so that we know how much room there is for a shutter to actually fit inside the sill, or if you pretty much don't have any space between your wall and your glass, then we'll know that we're going to be using a different type of a mounting system to put the shutter on the window. Lastly, you'll want to also look and see if you have any windows where there's a limited amount of space from your window to a corner of a room or to the ceiling, so that again we understand if there's any limitations for where our frame can sit in relationship to the walls in your room. So with just those few basic dimensions, you'll be prepared to go out and get an estimate that's probably 90% of the way towards a very accurate quote for the project. At least enough so that you can do some very easy comparisons between particular brands or even from one store to another. I do recommend that you measure every window in your house individually, even if two windows appear to be the same size. And I would go ahead and label it by the room that it's in and then where in that room it's located. Lastly, if you want to go a little bit above and beyond, you can even take pictures of them so that you can kind of get your salesperson's eyes on those and they have a very accurate idea of what your room and the windows look like. That will help take a lot of the guesswork out before they ever come to your house to do their final measurements. As we go down our basic checklist, we're going to start with kind of some of our first impression and our most obvious considerations, and then we'll get down into more of the details later. So for most of us, the very first consideration that we're going to be looking at is what color do we want our shutters. It's the easiest thing for us to digest when we look at a window and make that first impression of it. Our two basic categories are going to be a painted versus a natural or a stained wood look shutter. And depending on which one of those looks that we want can kind of dictate what materials that we use. Shutters are offered in a variety of materials, so we have a lot of man-made products like a PVC vinyl-based shutter material or an MDF wood composite-based material, and then we have actual real wood shutters. Among our real woods, we have a lot of different species of woods. We have hickories, alder, maple, oak, basswood, among others, but those are some of our more common. Now, if you're looking for the classic painted white shutter like you see here, then some of our man-made options will offer a very viable alternative to wood at a much more affordable price point than when we use a real wood and paint it. However, PVC is a plastic product and you put it side by side with wood, and even when they're both white, to me, I see the distinct plastic difference from that versus a wood product. And when it comes to a natural or a stained shutter look, again, our man-made products do offer us some options to recreate the look of real wood. They can sandblast and sandbrush texture onto a lot of these vinyl and MDF composite type materials. But if we put them side by side with wood, I think most of you at home would be able to easily distinguish between the real thing and the man-made alternative. So when it comes to anything that we're trying to recreate with a stained wood, I personally highly recommend that you go with an actual wood shutter. Now in our own company, we exclusively offer 100% basswood in both a painted and a stained finish. We've worked with a variety of products in the past. In our particular market, we've found that the basswood really hits a sweet spot of affordability with also a very quality product in a real wood shutter. For those of you who have seen some of my other videos, you may already be aware, but I'm here in Arizona where we get so much sun, tremendous amount of heat, and we deal with a very dry climate. So our product is up against just about as tough of an environment as anywhere when it comes to a product that has to be able to hold up to all that direct sunlight that it's protecting our house from. Now, one of the reasons that we've honed in on the 100% basswood is not only because it holds up really well to the heat and the light that we endure here in Arizona, but it's also very moisture resistant, and we use this product in kitchens and bathrooms all the time. So if I had to make a one-size-fits-all recommendation as to the particular type of material that I would recommend for shutters, based on my own experience, I am biased towards the 100% basswood. But my recommendation for you is this: wherever you're going, ask your provider what the warranties are, what kind of guarantees and performance you should expect from each of the different lines that they offer. And remember, no warranty is any better than the company that stands behind it, so make sure that you're buying from a reputable dealer and a reputable brand. Our next consideration is the louver size. The louvers are these individual slats in our shutter, and there's usually 2 or 3 different widths that are offered. We probably use a 5-inch louver the most, but some of that can be dictated based off of the sill depth and how much clearance you have between your shutter front and the glass. We can't go too wide where our actual louvers hit the glass as we try to open them. If that's the case, then we have to build out our shutter away from the glass, or we use a smaller louver. Because I just mentioned building our shutter out away from the glass, next thing on our checklist is going to be the mounting style of our shutter. So let's go ahead and take a look at what the options are for that. Now, when it comes to our shutter frame, we have a variety of profiles, but we have one of 3 different ways that it's generally mounted to a window. And depending on the mounting method, it may change or limit some of the particular profiles that we use and how they work best for your particular window. Now, certain windows may dictate a certain type of mounting method based off of the sill depth, as well as if the window runs into the corner of the wall where we don't have wall space all the way around our window sill. So the 3 basic mounting methods that we're going to have are going to be either an inside mount, where the shutter frame is actually contained completely within the frame of the window. Now, an inside mount, we need to have enough sill depth for us to actually put this inside of the windowsill. And it's important to know that no window is ever perfectly square. So when we have an inside mount, it will show any potential inconsistencies in the out of squareness of your window. Now, the second option would be we have the window mounted completely on the surface of the wall, or we often call this an outside mount. Now, the benefit here is if we don't have any sill depth, we can mount it onto the wall. However, this will create a little bit more of a protrusion into the room, so it gives the window a lot more depth, a lot more profile. You may or may not like that. That's kind of a personal preference, but it is something that it sits into the room. So if you have other things that you're working around in that general area that you don't want to be obstructed by your shutter frame, then the outside mount may not be your best option. And then last, we have what we call a Z frame. It's kind of a hybrid between our inside and our outside mount in that it is going to sit inside of the window, but it wraps around the surface of the wall. So it will hide any of the inconsistencies of that window, and we won't see where it's out of square like we will on the inside mount. It also comes out onto the actual wall surface, so we get a little bit more of a profile outside. We keep more of our shutter louvers in the inside of the window. We maximize the space that those louvers are in, but we don't protrude out into the room very much. We can still get a lot of different profiles on the actual frame. So as you can see, this one here, we refer to as our crown molding option. We can also do what's often considered a Spanish molding, which is a great match to a lot of door casings that are commonly offered here in my area. And then we have a little bit more of a modern, just perfectly flat profile. This would work great if you're also coordinating with things like shaker cabinets, or you just want a more clean, modern look to your shutter frame. Moving right along, let's go ahead and take a quick second to talk about panel configuration. So for each window, we need to decide what the configuration of the individual panels is going to be. Now on a single smaller window like this, it's very straightforward. We're just going to have one panel that we actually are able to open up and away from the window here. But we still need to decide if it's going to swing open from the left to the right or the right to the left. In this case, we want it to open out and away so that it's not swinging in to the shutter next to it. Now on a larger window where we can't just do one big panel because of the sheer size and weight of it, we're going to need to determine, based off the width, how many panels will we need. Now in this particular window, you can see we have 4 panels, but we're still actually only dealing with a left bifold and a right bifold. If we wanted to have every single one of these panels able to open and close completely independently, then we would need to use something we call a T-post, which would be a post that we actually install right down here in the middle so that we can create a left and a right on this side and a left and a right on the other side. And T-posts give us a lot more options to have tons of individual doors operating and hinged on their own, as opposed to us having something like a bifold or a bypass shutter. Now comment down below if you've been watching this whole video and you've been wondering where that tilt rod is that we open our louvers with, because this particular shutter actually uses a hidden tilt rod. Traditionally on our shutters, we have this tilt rod here in the front of the window, which opens and closes our louvers. But we can also get a shutter made with a hidden tilt rod so that we don't see that. And if you like that uninterrupted look going down your louvers, then you may want the hidden tilt rod. Now, if you like the look of the shutter without that tilt rod down the front, then we use a hidden tilt rod. And then we have to operate this by grabbing the actual louver itself. Now, as you can see, we still have the tilt rod that's connecting all of our louvers, but it's hidden kind of behind it. So we can still see it in certain angles, but when we close this, we don't have that interrupted front. One thing I will mention about the hidden tilt rod, it generally doesn't do as good of a job of operating with all of the louvers opening and closing consistently. So when we have that tilt rod on the front and we close it, all of those louver panels tend to close a little bit more firmly together. When we don't have it and the tilt rod's on the back, we close these louvers. A lot of times we may have to go back in and kind of tap close a few of these panels, or we'll get a little bit more light bleed through the shutters until we do so. And in regards to the tilt rod, we have another option, which is to use a split tilt rod so that we have on one panel the ability to grab and operate some of our louvers independently. So if we want to let some light in up top and not lose the privacy down below, we can do so, or we just have that much more control with just how much light we want to actually let through at any one time. Now, moving on to one of the more subtle considerations that we have is the color of our hinges. So again, painted white being our most popular shutter, one of the more common options is to do a painted white hinge that coordinates with the shutter, kind of blends in, doesn't really draw any attention to itself. But if we wanted to coordinate and tie in with maybe some oil rubbed bronze fixtures that we had or some brass fixtures, then we could coordinate those hinges to do so. It will stick out a little bit more on our shutter, but it may tie in a little bit better with other things going on in the house. Now, for most of us, we're going to be dealing with square and rectangle shaped windows, but if you do have a specialty shaped window, shutters can be made for just about any shape and size of window out there. So whether it be something like an octagon shaped window or a arch of some kind, then there are shutters available for those. They may differ in what type of control that you have to open and shut the louvers or how that's handled, but again, that's the kind of thing to discuss with your provider. Shutters can also be used on a variety of door styles, but the type of door will again often dictate the type of shutter that's best compatible with it. If we're talking about just a simple swinging door, then generally you're going to have a shutter mounted onto it, and you may need to make some kind of a cutout so that you have the ability to open and close your doorknob without it actually hitting any of the shutter louvers. If you've got a sliding glass door, for instance, then you're often going to want a sliding bypass shutter so that you can slide it all the way out of your door before you go to open it. And then lastly, there's also the bifold shutter door style as well. All right, so there's your basic checklist of all the decisions you're gonna need to be prepared to make when it comes to shopping for your shutters. Hopefully you found this video helpful and it leaves you a little bit more prepared to go out and have a conversation with your local provider. If you had any additional questions or you think I missed something, comment down below and I'll try to make sure that I get that covered for you. And if there's anything you'd like to see me talk about in a future video, comments is the place to do that. At a minimum, if you could hit that thumbs up button for me, guys, it is a huge help to the channel. Again, my name's Robert and I'm here to help with all your remodeling needs. So until next time, happy remodeling and have a great day.